Hello friends, welcome to another video of NISM Series 15 Research Analyst Certification Examination. Today we are going to cover chapter 5, that is economic analysis. First, let us understand what is economics. Economics is the study of how people make choices under the conditions of scarcity and impact those choices on individuals and society. It's a very good definition for the reason that the decision about economics is not taken by all of us, right? It's the selected few whom we have chosen in the government, who are running the government, are the ones who are taking these decisions of the economics on behalf of us. And these people are not having the luxury of abundance. They are also making these choices under the conditions of scarcity, and when they make these decisions will have impact on us and as a society, all of us. It assumes that the people are rational and well defined goals, and they have decisions to achieve those goals as efficiently as possible. But because the resources are limited, the individuals and the societies face a trade-off. That would basically mean that they would have to give up on something for something better. And again, what is better is upon their judgment. Okay, so this sums up all the economic decisions that are taken for any government, whether it be in India or outside. There are two main branches of economics. One is called as microeconomics and another is called as macroeconomics. Microeconomics studies about the decisions that a firm or an individual takes, while macroeconomics studies the economy as a whole. What are the basics of microeconomics? Let's study that. It sees how an individual or firm decides what to buy, what to produce, sell based on the prices in the market. It assumes that the prices and the production levels are driven by consumer demand, which guides the economy allocation of resources. The theory of the firm, a key part of microeconomics, studies how the business determine the inputs, the outputs, the prices, and the strategies to maximize the profit. If I have to say microeconomics in a very simple way, it would be it helps us how in a free market economy, how the prices are set for each commodity, how the goods and services are distributed. That study at a very low level, at an individual level or at a firm level is called as microeconomics. While when we study macroeconomics, it focuses on a large scale economic factors such as GDP, inflation, unemployment, saving, and investment. It studies the aggregate demand and supply in the economy and examines how the policies affect their economic performance. Government fiscal policies and central bank monetary policies are the key influencer of the macroeconomic conditions. Oftentimes, many people will go to ask you what are the main factors which influence the macroeconomics conditions. The only correct answer will be government fiscal policies and the central bank's monetary policies. So these two are the policies which are basically going to impact the entire macroeconomic conditions of a country. Macroeconomics helps us in understanding the economic health, employment trends, international trade, and long-term growth strategies. Now, let's understand what is national income. National income measures the total economic output or income of a country using indicators such as GDP. Lastly, you must have heard that India is now the fourth highest GDP in the world, which basically means in India you're producing the fourth highest income as compared to the entire world, and it has also surpassed somehow Japan. Okay, so how do you calculate the national income of any country is what we are going to study today. It is calculated by many different methods. You can use product method, you can use income method, or you can use expenditure method, and it is expressed as GDP. Okay, so this national income is calculated by product method when we find out and add all the value of the final goods and services. It can mean that wherever you see that there is a final value of each of the goods or the services that the people are taking, if we add all of this as a final product, the amount that will basically reflect the national income of a country. Second method is income method. Income method means if you look at the input of all these final product, you would have people who would have earned wages, there would be people who would have earned profits, there would be people who would have earned rent, or there would be people who would have given loan and gained interest. So even if you sum all of these wages, profit, rent and interest, you will get the same value with a slight error maybe, But this method of calculating the national income is called as income method. Third method is called as expenditure method. In expenditure method, what you do is you add up the consumption, the investment, the government spending, and the net exports also. And method of calculating the national income based on these things is called as expenditure method. So what can we derive from national income is the question. National income, if you look at the statistical level, should reveal the standard of living, it should reveal the track of economic growth, and it should guide the fiscal and monetary policy. So if you know that if your GDP or the national income is going how, you can have relaxed fiscal and monetary policies. But if you know that this is not going good, then you will have policies made by the government in that regard, also the national bank in a way that it has a positive impact on the economy as a whole. But there's always been a conflict whenever we study GDP. We think that GDP will give you a very good idea about the standard of living. Would you say that the standard of living in India is better than Japan? And the answer would be maybe no, at least for now I can say it is no. Okay, and the reason is that we are only focusing on GDP or the national income that the country has. And since the population of Japan is low, so the total income that Japan has is also maybe lesser as compared to the country such big as India. Okay, so we have another measure called as per capita income. Per capita income is easy to calculate. What you have to do is you have to divide the national income by the population, and that will give you per capita income, and which is by far the best measure to find out the living standards of a country than total national income. So whenever you see any debate with the current government, whenever somebody is saying that, oh, we have reached the fourth highest GDP in the entire world, it doesn't mean anything if your population is so big. Okay, if your population is less, then yes, it would mean something. Next, saving and investment. Savings are portion of income not spent on consumption and can come from individuals, corporations, or governments. National saving is the total of personal, corporate, and public saving. So who are the people who can save? I can save, you can save, that is personal. Corporate, like companies, can save. Public saving, governments can have some saving. So all these sum of amount is called as national saving. Savings become productive when they are converted into investments through financial markets. A high level of savings and their effective conversions into investments will benefit the economy. That's why the government doesn't want you to put your money just in the saving bank account. They want you to invest so that it will have an impact in the economy as a whole. Next thing that you have to study is what is inflation and what is its relation with interest rates. Inflation is, as you all know, is a general increase in the price over time is called as inflation, and its impact is that your purchasing power with that money will get reduced. Okay, it can be impacted by different factors. One could be by demand pull inflation. That basically means if you have limited amount of thing and the demand for that thing has got up, of course the price of this commodity will also rise up. You can say that is demand pull inflation. Second is called as rising production cost inflation. That basically means if you have to create this product, now the inputs that go in, let's say you want to make laddu. Okay, the things that go into laddu, maybe ghee and other things, have got a high inflation. Their prices have increased, because of which the laddu's price have also increased. So that is a cost push inflation, which is because of the things that the raw materials that are used to create this product has seen a hike in the amount. So that's why the amount of the product has also increased. That is called as cost push inflation. Inflation is measured in two ways. One is called as wholesale price index and another is called as cross consumer price index. Interest rates often rise to control the inflation, encouraging savings but reducing investments and consumption. So you will find that whenever the inflation is going up, what they would do, they would increase the interest rates. And when you see that interest rates are up, what would people do? They would try to save money rather than putting in any investment, or they would not do any consumption also, because they will think, oh, the inflation is so high that I cannot buy all the things that I want, but I have to somehow reduce my consumption. So these are the impacts that you will find whenever the inflation is rising. The government will try to increase the interest rate in order to control the inflation. Next, unemployment. Unemployment is a measure It's the percentage of eligible people willing to work but unable to find jobs. It rises during the economic slowdowns and falls when the economy grows. Higher employment increases the income, boosts the spending, which supports economic growth. So you have to understand here, we are not talking about all the people. Not many, all the people are eligible to be working also, right? So what we are doing is we are taking account of all the eligible people who can work, but they are not finding any jobs. Then you can say this is how much the unemployment is. Okay, and you will always know that when there is economic slowdown, there will not be many jobs. While the economy is growing, you will have more jobs and all the people will be employed. So higher employment increases the income and boosts the spending while supports the economic growth. Okay. Now let's understand what is foreign capital flows. Foreign capital flows can come in two ways. One is called as FDI and another is called as FPI. What is FDI? FDI is foreign direct investment, which involves long-term investment with managerial control, bringing jobs, technology, and skills. While FPI is called as foreign portfolio investment. It is a short-term investment in financial markets without diluting the management control and is called as hot money. Both of these are coming from foreign, that's why the name foreign portfolio investment and foreign direct investment. FDI is considered to be more stable because it's usually long-term investments, whereas FPIs can be withdrawn quickly and it can have an impact on the economic stability. Quite recently, I think 1 year back, we have heard that most of the foreign companies have not now stopped investing in India. They have moved out of Indian market, which have somehow impacted the Indian market. Okay, so these type of FPIs can be withdrawn very quickly, but FDIs are considered more stable because they are coming from management side and they are long term usually. Now let's understand what is fiscal policy. Okay, fiscal policy refers to government actions related to taxations and public spending. There can be three phases of fiscal policy. One is called as neutral fiscal policy, which balances the revenue and spending. Okay, so that basically means if the government spending is same as the revenue it is generating, it's called neutral fiscal policy. Second is called as expansionary policy. Expansionary policy would mean that it's already spending a lot more than what it is earning. So in order to stimulate the growth, so we call this type of fiscal policy as expansionary policy. Third type is called as contractionary policy. That may mean that they are trying to reduce the spending in order to control the inflation or debt. This type of policy is called as contractionary policy. So high fiscal deficit can happen, if there is a big gap between you are spending a lot and you are earning a very less amount as a government, then you have a situation which you call as high fiscal deficit. So high fiscal deficit can raise interest rates and can weaken the country, while a balanced approach supports the stable growth. Now let us understand about GAAR, that is also called as General Anti-Avoidance Rule. So oftentimes you found some companies might be trying to avoid taxes by doing some transactions just in order to avoid taxes. So the government of India has basically empowered the revenue authorities to impose these taxes on these transactions if they find that they have somehow used certain things to somehow avoid taxes. Okay, so that type of rules are called as GAAR, that is called as General Anti-Avoidance Rules. Monetary policies. Monetary policies is managed by central bank. So I said you fiscal policy is managed by government. Monetary policy is governed by the central bank. What is the central bank? RBI. Okay, to control the money supply, interest rates, and inflation. Expansionary monetary policies increase the money supply, lowers the interest rates to stimulate the economy. So if I am a person in the RBI and I want to have a monetary policy and I set it as expansionary monetary supply, what I would do, I would take all the steps that to increase the money supply in the market and would reduce the interest rate so that people have a lot of more spending. While the contractionary policy does the opposite to prevent the overheating. There are different tools which they use. They cannot directly come and to me and tell stop spending on this, I will not listen, but they have their own ways how they do it from that level. Okay, so what are the tools they use? They use something called as repo rate. Repo rate is the rate at which the central bank lends the money to the commercial banks. It's called repo rate. Second is reverse repo rate. Reverse repo rate would mean the rate at which the central bank borrows money from the commercial banks. Next is cash reserve ratio. Oftentimes these commercial banks have to put in some money in cash form with the central bank. So the minimum percentage of the total deposits which the commercial banks have to hold as cash reserves with the bank is called as cash reserve ratio. They can say 30%, 20%, whatever amount of the total deposits that you are holding in your commercial bank, you have to put it in RBI, or you have to keep it as cash reserves in the RBI. So you can increase or decrease this amount. Okay. Next is statutory liquid ratio, the minimum percentage of total deposits which the commercial banks have to hold in cash equivalents. Okay, so if you don't have cash, if you can also use gold or government of Indian securities in order instead of these being put as cash with the central bank, that is called as statutory liquid ratio, SLR. Now let's understand what is international trade and exchange rate. Okay, what is international trade? International trade basically means import and export of goods and services between two countries, right? The balance of payment records these transactions divided into current account and capital account. The current account records the revenue transactions like import, exports of goods and services, while the capital account records the capital flows such as FDI, FII, loans, and grants. Okay. So if the imports are more than the exports for any country, then we can say that the current account will be deficit. That basically means we are not exporting as much as we are importing. So that would put our current account in deficit. But at the same time, if the exports are more than the imports, then we can say the current account is in surplus. Similarly, capital account will be in surplus if the inflows are more than the outflows, and deficit if the outflows are more than the inflows on the capital account. So hope that part is clear. You have understood there are two types of account. One is called as current account, another is called as capital account. Current account looks into the situation of import export of goods and services, while the capital account looks into all the transactions related to FDI, FII, and loans and grants. Okay. So if a country has a continuous current account deficit, let's say all the time we are, let's say, importing more and exporting less, then that would put our current account in deficit. It might either have a surplus in the capital account or use its foreign currency reserves. So whenever you have a situation where the current account is in deficit, you only have two options. Okay, either you will have to have a surplus in your capital account, or else you will have to use your foreign currency reserves, or the dollars that you have held up, that you will have to give away with. In both the cases, it risks the losing market confidence, and it causes the currency to lose its value quickly. Okay, of course the currency is losing value, even Indian rupees is losing its value. As you can see, the exchange rates is one measure how we find out the value of one currency against another, and these are influenced by these type of trade balances, investment flows, and economic strength. Now let us understand globalization. We always learn that globalization is a good thing. We have been a very liberal society when it came to globalization past 90s, wherein we opened our economy to all the foreign countries and brands to be opened in India. But at the same time, you have to understand one thing, that globalization has got its own plus and minus also. Though it improves the resource allocation, promotes innovations, and offers consumer with lot many choices, it has got its plus and minus. So let's understand what's the plus and minus of globalization. The positives of globalization are resources are used where they are most productive and profitable. Okay. Second, developing economies integrate with developed ones, gaining opportunities to learn, grow, access new products, and adopt new technologies. One could be from Germany and India. Germany has got good technology, India has got cheap resources, and both of them can integrate to create new technologies. Next is consumer benefits from the global competition, which derives the innovation and keeps the prices in check. Increased exposure to foreign cultures, offering more choices in arts, movies, music, food, clothing, etc. Okay, so these are all the different positive sides of globalization. Now let's just understand the negatives of globalization. Yes, you got it right. That is the widening gap between rich and poor. Of course, when you are opening your doors to even stronger competitors out there in the global market, the real impact is also on the gap between the rich and poor people. The rich people will get more richer, and poor people will get more poorer. Second part is intense competition leads to survival of the fittest, leaving less competitive countries with fewer job opportunities. You will find that in the global job market also, India and countries where you have resources who are talented and also available in cheaper rate are having far higher value as compared to countries who do not have that kind of skilled labor. Okay, so what we are facing as a result of globalization is that the country which would have survived better if it was not globalized would, because they had their resources which they will make use of, but since now they are having this open window where they can employ resources outside of the country who are also skilled and also available cheaper, this would lead to the countries who are more competitive to gain from the globalization, while the countries which are not having enough skilled resources or having costly resources would find the negative sides of the globalization. So friends, with this, let's focus on the question and answers from this chapter. The very first one is focus of microeconomics is on the factors that influence the aggregate supply and demand in an economy, such as unemployment rates, gross domestic product, overall price levels, inflation, saving rates, investment rates. State whether true or false. So I think this one is a false statement because it talks about microeconomics, while the entire description is about macroeconomics things. Okay. Next, let's go to the question. Two major influencers of public policies in the economy are. What are the two major influencers? Options are A, government and central bank, B, stock exchanges and government, C, central bank and stock exchanges, D, State Bank of India and National Stock Exchange. So what have we studied? The correct answer is government and central bank. Government decides the fiscal policies and the central bank decides the monetary policies. Okay. Now let's understand the third question. National income of an economy can be measured through which of the following methods? Options are given: product method, income method, expenditure method, and all of the above. And you know the correct answer is all of the above. Okay, let's go to the last question. The fiscal deficit is bridged by the government through market borrowing, both short term and long term. State whether true and false. The correct answer is it is true statement. So friends, with this we are finishing chapter 5, that is about economic analysis. Hope you found this video useful. If you found this video useful, please do share the link of the playlist with your friends who are also preparing for research analyst exam, and also recommend them to go through the mock tests that are given in the NISM research analyst course that is available in the mocktestchannel.com, which covers all the latest question and answers from this particular exam. So with that, let me conclude this video. See you in the next video. Until then, take care. Goodbye.